How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Down to Earth with Kristian Harloff. This is our Monday through Friday UAP news channel. We try to look at the stories that are happening in the world of the UAP phenomenon and say, okay, this is the one I think that everybody needs to hear about, or the ones that we think are the most interesting. And that's hard to do because sometimes there's like 5 or 10 stories and we're like, which one should we do today? Which one should we do? And it takes us a little bit to figure it out, but we finally did it. So if you're brand new to the channel, you've never been here before, help us get to 25,000 subscribers. We are approaching 22. I think we'll get there pretty soon, but I think we can get to 25. You hit that button. We do a Tuesday show. We just had on on this channel, we had on Ashton Forbes. On the other channel, we had on Avi Loeb, we had on Danny Sheehan, we had on Tim Gallaudet. We've had a lot of great guests, Steve Bassett, on that show, and we continue to do so. So if you want to subscribe there, all the links are in the description. Okay, so one of the main topics that we've talked about here, one of the main players in the game that has gotten the conversation more heated now than in the past 70, 80 years that this thing has been a thing, and that's David Grusch. David Grusch was not the first whistleblower. There's been whistleblowers, but his claims and his credentials and everything that he has accomplished in his career, he kind of blew the lid off the place. And when whether you talk to Steve Bassett, Danny Sheehan, they all said that there was this plan from Chuck Schumer and other people to gradually start to get the information out more on the UAP stuff, from what they had promised to Harry Reid and what had happened from that New York Times article. They weren't even thinking about David Grusch. And then David Grusch had that explosive interview with Ross Coulthart on News Nation, and it was just game changer. So they had to shift everything. So David Grusch and Ryan Graves and David Fravor, they get before a public hearing, and they start talking about these things and the claims that Grusch has made about recovering bodies, recovering all these craft and reverse engineering programs and things that he had heard from all the people that he interviewed while working at the UAP task force. So where's he been? You know, that's one of the main things, is that he was supposed to have this op-ed that was supposed to come out a little while ago. It never came out. And we were wondering why. When Jesse Michaels was on my show recently, I asked where it is, and he said, I have information on that, but I really can't say anything. So where is it? We also know that there was a report that there are original claims when they asked David Grusch if he was ever contacted by Sean Kirkpatrick, former head of AARo, to come in. Grusch had said no. There was now a report that said that maybe wasn't the case, but then if you do further investigation to it, maybe Grusch wasn't lying. He was talking about a different period of time, so it gets murky. Doesn't matter. We still haven't heard from him. Where is he? So you're wondering, there was also these rumors that he was going to take a position in the government, working for the UAP caucus. Where is he? So that tends to be the question. Is he's a big voice, and people want to know, where is this guy? Because he is one of the leading voices, and he hasn't responded to any of the things that had come out. He hasn't responded to the other AARo report that came out that said nothing to see here, all that stuff that Grusch was talking about. Yeah, we couldn't find any evidence of that. So more public hearings. Where is he? Well, we have an answer, because we now find out that David Grusch will be speaking at the SALT conference in New York on day 2, which will be on May 21st from 12:10 p.m. to only 12:30. He's talking 20 minutes. I don't know why you don't have this guy talk for 4 hours, but we're going to have him talk for 20 minutes. What's he going to say inside of that report? Now, if you remember, the last time they had a big kind of rock the boat moment at the SALT conference was when Gary Nolan pretty much just said 100%. They asked him, you think that there's alien life here and it's visited? He goes, I'll give you one step over. They've been here and they're still here. And here's that clip.
Do you believe that extraterrestrial intelligence has visited planet Earth?
I think you can go a step further. It hasn't just visited, it's been here a long time, and it's still here. And it has basically, people talk about the wow signal, looking for extraterrestrial intelligence. The wow signal is that people see it on an almost regular basis. That's the communication that's already here.
And that statement seems so incredible that it's tough to believe, right? Like, people hear that, and maybe a lot of people here hear that, and they don't believe it. And so I'm curious, if you had to assign a probability to that statement that you believe extraterrestrial intelligence has visited this planet, what probability would you assign?
100%. And that's not just my opinion. I mean, look, the National Defense Appropriation Act, passed last year, signed by Biden in December. 30 pages of that is the establishment of an unidentified aerial phenomenon office, the establishment of looking into the harm that's happened to any of a number of the individuals, going back to 1945 and looking at the disinformation and misinformation that has been basically articulated over the decades. 12 US senators have signed on to a document that basically says we want the information. The establishment of an office, AARo, in the Department of Defense, has 25 people working in it right now. And what's their goal? Collecting the information across all of the U.S. Department of Defense intelligence offices, and collation of that into a uniform format for the very first time, and provision of that then to Congress. The creation of a whistleblowers program specifically that allows people from within, who I'm going to say this, who've been working on the reverse engineering programs, reverse engineering of objects, so that they can come in and break their oaths, but it's specifically just to talk to Congress and give that information in classified settings. And that the most recent one that happened was just last weekend, and it created quite a hornet's nest in Washington.
So that's a quick clip of just what was said. And it's pretty nuts when you think about it that was said. And I'll be completely honest with you. I didn't even know that clip existed until we started shooting this video. Because Pavel had sent that to me, and I thought it was a new clip. And I was like, oh, this is going to blow the roof off the place. Everybody, this thing is like almost a year old, that clip that I just showed you. And the fact that no one was talking about that, I mean, maybe in the circles of the UAP community, sure. But overall, like, yeah, it's nuts. So first of all, the question is, what is Grusch going to say? Is he going to address all this? I wonder if the moderator, if it's a good moderator, he'll be asking all of those questions. Where's the op-ed? What's the response to the Kirkpatrick stuff? What's the response to the AARo report? All of that. So I'm very, very curious what is going to be said, because he's going to be presenting at the same conference, SALT, as the former Secretary of Defense, Mark Esper, and the former Chairman of Joint Chiefs, Mark Milley. That's a big panel. Overall, what can be said from all of them? And is this, this doesn't, what it needs to feel like, it can't feel like a Comic-Con panel of stars of the past. Oh, I remember that guy. That's great. What's he saying now? Since I made my little thing, I've been doing this, and I'm playing golf on the ranch. You got to come out swinging. Now that all of these reports, whether it was George Knapp a couple of days ago who said there was a gut punch, but it can't be over. So this is hopefully someone getting up and taking some big swings with this conference. I don't know what we'll hear, but I think that a lot of people have opinions on it, and I think one of the people that has an opinion on it is Pavel, so let's get his opinion. All right, Pavel, here he is. So, Pavel, what's your opinion on all this? Anything that I said that you agree with, disagree with? What say you?
Yeah, well, it is important that it's the SALT conference, which garners a lot of attention from big tech, from major corporations. So I think whatever he says in there for 20 minutes, which I think they're going to extend, to be honest with you. It's not going to be 20 minutes. It will be a half hour at the least, I think. I think whatever he says, and I hope that whatever he says has to do with moving the needle forward. And if it's the SALT conference, which already caused a major fuss when Dr. Nolan spoke last year.
So it did cause a major fuss?
Yeah,
okay.
It did. Actually, it happened right before the News Nation interview with Grusch. And people in the I can tell you, my father, he's a plastic surgeon.
Okay.
He's like really well known in the patent industry. And he knows about Dr. Nolan. And when he said it, my dad approached me and asked me, he's like, is this for real? This guy has many patents. He's a millionaire. why is he saying this? And I explained it to him, and he was kind of shocked, to be honest with you. So
Okay,
yeah.
so it has more weight than maybe, for people on the outside who don't know enough about this and go, oh, it's just another conference. Because you can see, if you didn't know that kind of information that you just dropped there, how you could almost see this like a Comic-Con thing where, yeah, it's just the UFO nuts that are going to this thing and paying attention to it. But it seems to be a lot more, and it seems to be more, would you agree with this, strategic, that you put these players in there and like, okay, you want to play hardball, let's play hardball. Let's get all these people out there to talk some shop here. And will Grusch address these things, and will he drop new information?
Oh, brother. And it's important to also know that General Milley is going to be there. He's retired.
Yeah.
His story is very fascinating because I don't know if you recall, but before the Air Force, before it was formed, there was the Army Air Force. And then the Air Force separated from that, and it was just the Army and the Air Force. Since then, all the alleged crash retrievals that haven't been proven completely yet, they were taken over by the Air Force, and the Army was left in the dark. So General Milley is part of the Army. He grew up with the Army. So there's this like eternal struggle between the two institutions, and the Navy is added at that too, because if stuff goes down when this happens, if stuff goes down, the ones that are going to be infighting are going to be those three between them. So it's going to be interesting what the general has to say, because he also was briefed by Grusch on all of this.
The General Milley was.
Yeah. So he knows everything Grusch said. He knows. So it's not a coincidence that those two are going to be there.
So is this one of those things, if you're on the opposing side of this thing and you hear this, is this one of the things, because it seems to me that the way that they play this game is, okay, so they're going to go and they're going to talk a lot of stuff again. They're going to say this happened, this happened, this happened, but it's in front of a conference. It's not in front of a hearing. It's not anything official. They don't have any official proof. It's just more people saying this happened, this happened, this happened. Yeah, they got some weight to it. They got their credentials, but a lot of people who had credentials do. We're okay.
The thing is that the general was the highest ranking official in the armed forces. So that position carries weight to it, And obviously, debunkers and skeptics are going to say it's one-sided because the general has always been speaking to Grusch about this. And the general is very much separated from whatever the Air Force and the crash retrieval programs have been doing. So, yeah, they're going to say it's one-sided, but I also think that whatever the general says carries a lot of weight. And people are going to listen to him. It's like,
well, I think people. Well, but I think a lot of people are going to listen to him, and I think that you'll get the people who are going to clip out the videos, and there's going to be a lot of pushback, and they'll be like, "Well, this was said, unbelievable," and then it's like it feels like that cycle of the 4 or 5 days, and then maybe News Nation picks it up to do like a little story of it, and then it's like, oh, and then the next story will be, are we doing public hearings or not?
Yeah, and they're going to ask him that.
Yeah,
of course they are. So. I also think that there may be another announcement coming during that conference. It's a perfect time to maybe announce the book, maybe announce an op-ed, maybe announce hearings, whatever Grusch is doing, or whatever plans he has for the upcoming 6 months, because he's been busy. That's where I've gathered from the people who have spoken about him and that have close contact. He's been really busy with this.
I want to know what, because you look at a lot of people who've talked about how it's almost like a kind of deflating thing, that AARo report that came out. I'd like to know mentally what he felt, because he was preparing for those type of moves. When you listen to him on Rogan, when he was talking about the way he called the gutting of that bill before it even happened. He knew that it was going to happen. You could tell. And I'm sure he knew this reaction that AARo was going to have. So I wonder if he's been deflated. I wonder if he's been angered and the opposite of deflated and more determined now. I'm so curious. He's the one guy, and opposed to the obvious reasons, but he's the one guy I really want to sit down with and talk to for like an hour and just like everybody else in this space wants to do. But like I would really want to know mentally where he's at. I would really want to know, like, motivation wise, is he deterred? Is he, like, I guess we'll find that out at this conference, like what kind of mindset he's in, and is this one of the last straws? Because you can always imagine like a bunch of people sitting around going, look, we can only do so much at this point, and maybe we back up. And then there's the other person going, no, we can't back up yet. We got to keep doing the fight. You know, you can see that happening over the course of the last 70, 80 years that happened. But I wonder if that's happening at all now, or if it's the opposite.
Yeah, I wonder the same thing. But I don't think he's deterred. He wouldn't be still trying to do these things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that he has taken some hits, especially that op-ed. I think that was a cheap shot, what happened. So
yeah.
And I know that he's been gracious about it. He hasn't been reactionary about it, which also speaks of his character, because he could have sent a statement easily through anywhere.
So. Decided. I mean, the fact that he didn't respond actually spoke volumes. And at first you could say it spoke volumes of like, oh, maybe he's admitting to it, but he would disappear if that was the case. And he's not disappearing. Yeah. He's deciding, I'll speak when it's time to speak. And now it looks like we're coming up in a couple of weeks here before we hear. So people are going to be watching. I'll be watching. You'll be watching. Pavel, thanks for joining me here as always, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you, man. Have a good one.
All right. So I throw it to you guys now. What is going to be said by Grusch? Obviously, if you're following this topic, obviously you're going to be watching to find out what it is. But do you think it'll be something that moves the needle? Will the other people speaking move the needle? The Seoul conference that they had was a big day of news, and it brought it was the first time to bring my attention, brought to my attention Timothy Gallaudet. And I think he's becoming more and more of a respected figure in the community in general. Once people are learning, I think he's always been respected in his circles, but once you're learning more about him, and then there's more reports of what he's going to be doing and how more involved he will be. And I asked him straight up if he was going to testify. He said he would. Immediately, didn't hesitate, didn't flinch. So there's new people, or not new people, but these people who are getting more of the spotlight now. Are there more people, and does it take a little bit of the weight off of Grusch's shoulders, but does it carry it one more time, or this time rather, into this SALT conference, and you go, all right, well, look at what he said there. How do you respond to that? It's a lot. So go ahead and comment. Tell me what you think. Put your subscriptions in there. Does that work? I think that works. Put your subscriptions in there. That means boom, boom, boom. You just put it in there. We're looking to get 25. I think we can do it. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you. See you later.